However, up next, perhaps very usefully for us, we've got Willis McBriar. I say very usefully because he spent 30 years doing comms at the BBC in terms of fixing audio and video stuff. And he's going to give us some of his tips about how to make better videos, which is something we all kind of need to learn, especially during lockdown. We've all been forced, we've all become directors of photography suddenly. So, Willis, can you hear me? Are you there?
Okay, right. Okay, well, as you can see, this is my first frame, which is a quote from Jay Maisel, which says, "The best camera is the one you have with you." And that's why this is about mobile phone photography, mobile phone videography, because you're always going to have it with you. So let's have a little look at what we're going to be covering today. I'm going to do a little bit on planning, not very much, but it's important. It's not quite as visual, perhaps, as the rest of it, but it's very, very important. Then I'm going to talk. The main body will be talking about actually shooting both video and moving pictures and sound on a mobile phone, and then we're going to talk about editing. And basically, you could edit. There are lots of little apps and things that allow you to edit on a mobile phone, but I'm going to perhaps hopefully persuade you that you're better off to do it on a laptop or a big computer. Okay, this is my production cycle because it's important that you realize that you're not going to do this once, you're going to keep doing it. And you're going to shoot, edit, you're going to share it with your friends or the general public, and then you're going to prepare again. So you start with your preparation, shoot, edit, and then share. But then you learn something, and that changes how you prepare the next one. And here's a very important point. Videos are moving pictures with sound. You've got to think about both. You don't think about the sound afterwards. You think about the sound all the way through. And one nice quote I've heard from a guy who runs a web blog called Cinema Sound is that people have often said to him, "That camera is fantastic. You know, what did you do to make that so much better?" And he says, "No, I didn't actually make it. Didn't change the camera. I just made the sound better, and you think it's better." So first off, this is a storyboard. Now I've sent a link on of it's from our local moving image arts here in Northern Ireland. It's our local exam board, but there's lots and lots of these about. This is just a simple template, okay? And in this simple template, you've got 6 little blocks that you can fill in that tell your story. And I'm now going to look at what different types of shots, for camera shots. And again, hopefully what this will get across to you is that you don't have to be a great artist to make effective storyboards, but they are important because they're important for 2 reasons. One, to keep you on track so you know the sort of shots you're having to do. And also if you think about your edits and you think, right, I'm going to need a close-up there and I'm going to need this, you're not always going to shoot in sequence. So it's important to use the storyboard to work out, you know, do I go from a very long shot, you know, like a wide shot? Do I then go a long shot? So let's just take 3 basic types of shot: the long shot, the medium shot, or the medium close-up, and the close-up. Obviously, the other shots are in there; they're important, but the long shot gives you context. The medium close-up is probably the one you'll use most because you're starting to get a bit of what the body's doing in there. And then the close-up communicates emotion. Okay. Now, you may not always be shooting people. You may be shooting a recipe video or something, but the thing still applies. You get context and you do most of it perhaps in medium close-up, and you go in for your close-up to actually show a bit of detail. All right, so that's storyboards. which is the picture side of making a video, and now the screenplay or the script. Okay, and what you're going to write in here are all the important bits of action and dialogue, and also a little bit of stage direction for the actors, but not the stage direction for the camera, because that's already been done in the storyboard. Okay. Say in a conventional screenplay, 1 page of script usually represents 1 minute of screen time. Now, I, as well as kind of doing this sort of thing, which is just, encouraging people to make videos for their own enjoyment or for sharing with their friends, I also teach this subject. I teach it at an FE college. And so when I have a class of students, I'm trying to achieve 2 things with them. I'm trying to show them how to actually make decent videos and how to enjoy themselves doing that, but also how to pass an exam in making videos. So there are things they have to do. They have to put together a decent script within a group of about 4 of them, and they have to put in a storyboard. There's some other stuff they have to do as well. In fact, quite a lot of other stuff they have to do as well. Okay, let's just go moving on from the pre-production into actually shooting. And I'm trying to illustrate a couple of things here. One is a little bit about framing. So you can see in that little shot there how I've framed a number of people going for a walk. Obviously, this was quite a while ago and they are not observing social distancing. But the other thing that's important in there is those 9 squares. So that little grid is called a rule of thirds grid. And it's to help you lay out your picture in the most pleasing way. So you tend to have your important bits of action on the lines, and so don't just center your film. Also, try and do it in landscape. Okay, so you can see what I mean by landscape. It's the horizontal one as opposed to the vertical one. So a lot of people shoot stuff on their phone. They shoot it vertically, or portrait as it's known, and then that becomes a bit difficult to edit later. Okay. Also, what you can see there are 2 different sorts of tripod. One is on the left-hand side is a cheap and cheerful, probably about £1 in a pound shop, or maybe £2. Very, very cheap tripod, quite usable, great. Which of course, a tripod enables you to step away from the camera. Okay, it enables you to set it up somewhere. You may want to buy a bigger tripod, but let's just start with the really, really basic stuff. On the other side, on the right-hand side, you can see it's a variant of what's called a gorilla grip. So it's a bendable tripod, which means that you can easily attach it to like vertical poles or rails or all sorts of stuff. So if you want an interesting shot and you want to attach your camera to something, without having to use lots and lots of sticky tape, get a gorilla grip, about £10 maybe. Okay, so here we are. Here am I demonstrating a couple of the key points about lighting. One is that you try to not have your light source behind your subject, otherwise, because all cameras have automatic irises on them. They will stop down. In other words, they'll go darker if they're seeing a lot of light. So the effect here is that because there's a lot of light coming in through that window, the camera stops down so as it doesn't burn out the image. But the effect of that is that I am in silhouette there. I mean, I may want to be in silhouette, and of course you want to shoot a silhouette shot. That's the way to do it. But generally, no. On the other side, you've got a little bit about simple natural lighting. Okay, so in this case, I'm lit from one side, and on the second case, I'm lit from one side, and you can see shadow on one side of my face. Now, the reason why you try to light from the side, it's usually not quite as far, that is like at 90 degrees to my face. You probably want it to be at 45 degrees. you want to light your subject in such a way that they look three-dimensional. If you light directly into their face, they will look flat. It will look like, was it a prison shot or, the driver's license shot or something like that. The one down below, I've used a reflector, and I'll whenever Dallas and I get to talk, I'll actually show you a couple of reflectors, different ways you can do that. But now that, in this case, the reflector is reflecting the entire surface. So you can still see, it still looks 3D. You can see some shadowing there, shadowing on my neck, shadowing around my eyes. So so it doesn't look flat, but at the same time, it looks very different from the one where only half of the face is properly lit. Now, sound is my own particular area of expertise, and sound on a mobile phone is a bit trickier than other ways of doing it. On the right-hand side there, you can see what is a little headset for an iPhone or for an Android phone. The important thing to look at is that the microphone jack there has got 4 rings on it, not 3. Okay, that's because the 4th ring is for the microphone, which is the little white rectangle that's about halfway down one of the cables. So that's your microphone. It normally sits, just at chest height if you're wearing one of these headsets. That's very, very useful. It's probably the best way if you want to actually do, speak into the camera, but yet have clear sound from yourself. That's the way to do it. Get one with a good long cable on it. So, and that's again very, very cheap way of having a separate microphone. On the left hand side of the picture are 3 different types of adapter that allow you to put a separate microphone and separate headphones into your mobile phone. So they do the same thing, but they give you the choice of headphone or choice of different microphone. Okay, that's about everything on camera work. Where are we at? Now, I haven't really suggested buying any apps or anything like that. As I say, I think it's better to try and edit rather than doing it in-app. But if you are looking to get a good camera app to allow you to do things like check sunlight, check where this, all the cinematography stuff, this is probably the one to go for. This is the one that everybody raves about. I haven't used it very much myself, but it's a good suggestion, I think. All right, so on to editing. So you've used a storyboard and a script to work out what things you had to shoot, and now you want to put them into a program. You want to put them on a timeline. Well, you want to put them into an editor. Now, I've been using a MacBook for about at least 10 years, and what comes free with all Macs is iMovie, which is a pretty decent domestic quality movie editor. Normally when I teach, I use the Adobe Creative Suite. And unfortunately, my rather elderly desktop PC hasn't really got enough oomph to run Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'll have to wait until the schools start back to access decent equipment again. But anyway, here are the 3 basic elements of an editor. There's the project panel into which you load all of your clips. Then there's the timeline, which allows you to put your clips, your video clips, into sequence. It also allows you to put different sound on. It also allows you to put music on. If you notice, way on the left-hand side of the timeline, you can see that there's 2 video lines, and this is done using green screen. So I'm actually using a green screen, and I'm actually so I've got all of the pictures that are on the lower line actually back projected onto the green screen behind me. But I would suggest that if you start using an editor, you probably won't want to be starting with green screen. So you can see how you stack one thing after another. And then up in the top right-hand corner is the program monitor, which is where you actually watch what it is you're doing. Now, if you're lucky enough to have two screens, you may want to take your program monitor out onto a separate screen. Okay, so that's a very quick run through of how you do editing, and that's how you would do it on a Mac. Now, say you've got a PC, and you can use on Windows 10 you can use the photo app that's in there to do very simple editing. But since there are lots and lots of free open source video editor packages out there, it's all got much better than it used to be. Here's what I would suggest. You can download it for free. It'll work on a Mac as well, but it's called OpenShot, and it's got exactly the same things. It's got the project panel, it's got the timeline, and it's got the program monitor. So you can, I think now's not the day to go in depth into editing. There's lots and lots of resources on the web about how to edit, but that's my two suggestions for editing. And now, right, questions. Over to you, Delph.
Guys, it's an impossible question for you. You won't be able to answer it. Okay, you've got to answer it, but you've got to answer it quickly. What is the best thing about doing what you do?
That's a lovely question. The best thing about what I do is walking into a new classroom with a new set of students and just seeing them flower. You know, one or two of them. Usually, I'm about 16. But it's the banter, it's the interaction. What I tried this year is we were doing our theme this year with gangster movies. Okay, we needed access to an old warehouse in Belfast that we used for shooting our gangster movies in, which turned out really well. But I decided to start with, I don't know if you know the big Kahuna scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, the big Kahuna scene. So before it gets really violent, but the thing is, there's lots of really nice resources out there that you can use. I mean, for instance, I've got this really nice storyboard resource, which is the first, I don't know, minute of Moulin Rouge, with Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor in it. And the way, I think it's Directors Guild of America has made the storyboard for those first 10 minutes or first minute available. So you can look at the storyboard, you can look at the finished product. And, it's really great for teaching it because you just say to students, well, what do you see there? What is going on there? And look at this thing, there's the scenes, the screen to on this are people, there are bad people, but you tease that out of them. You don't just say it's good and bad. You ask the questions to see what are people thinking.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey,
I wasn't a short answer. Sorry.
It's a great question, but that's the thing. You're absolutely right. Ultimately, if you're making a film about anything, even if it's a short TikTok video, it's about making a connection with an audience. And it's the great thing about all this kind of kit is that it's been democratized. Suddenly, we've all got access to it. But just having a few basic skills, like we're talking about things like lighting, things like having good sound, composition, those are the key things. Just with a few basic pointers, the world is your oyster. Well, it's been lovely to chat with you. We're going to have to move on, I feel. But thank you so much for, giving us your time. I know what an experienced technician you are, and it's been lovely to chat. So thank you very much. And regards to Belfast.